And we are live once again. Hello and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to another one of my live streams where I'm in the hot seat. And of all the days I'm in the hot seat, it's on my 39th birthday. Yes, today's my birthday. I'm 39 years old. And to go along with that, I have 12 and a half years of continuous sobriety to this on this very same day. No, I didn't plan it that way. It just kind of happened that way. So, in commemoration of my birthday and another 6 months of continuous sobriety, because it's very important to me, um, I got some questions that were already submitted to me, and at the same time, uh, if any of you pop on and have some questions of your own, please feel free to ask them, and I'll do my very best to answer them in a timely fashion. Okay? So, without further ado, let's start off with the first thing. Later on tonight, I will be at Laz's Bar and Grill to celebrate my birthday, and I will be on stage singing karaoke. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the area, want to come hang out with me, not do anything, it's Tuesday night. Who gives a crap? If you're not doing anything tonight, come out, hang out with us. We're just going to have a ball, okay? So that takes care of that. Okay, so be sure to come out there. If you can't be there, if we post any videos, be sure to check those out. And show your support for the people over at Laz's Bar and Grill. They work really hard. It's a family-owned business, and they do their very best to keep everybody in the spirits who can still drink. Of course, they keep me up with soda and lots of tunes to sing, but that's all another subject. All right, let's get to some of our first questions, which I've got 4 of them while we're waiting. The first question is, if you could go with a V8 for Project Spirit, what would it be? And that question was submitted by Bert TV, Bert of Bert TV. Well, Big Bad Bert, if I could go with any V8 for Project Spirit, what would it be? Now, that's a very good question. Because I know that the ongoing debate has always been, why don't you put a V8 in Project Spirit? And that's actually a question that came up, okay? And I'm going to actually give some detailed reasons why. But let's get to Bert's question first. The first thing that needs to be said, that if I could have my choice of any V8 that would go in there, believe it or not, either the 351 Windsor or the 351 Modified. Either one would be an excellent choice. The 351 Windsor, obviously a great, powerful small block Ford engine. It's, it has proven itself time and time again. And I mean, some people would say, well, go with the 302. Well, you can fit a 351 under the hood of a Maverick. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze on the sides. And, but you can fit it in there. And with a little finagling, you can keep it all under the hood. I actually know a guy who managed to do that. He used to actually race a Maverick over at the Bonne Terre drag strip. And that was actually something that he did. He managed to get a 351 completely and totally under the hood of that car, which is really cool. That being said, a 351 Windsor would definitely be a great choice because it's one of those things. Go big or go home. If you're going to go to a V8. Don't just do what everybody else does and go directly to the 302. Go big, go bigger than that. And that's exactly what I would do is I would go directly to the 351. Now that being said, the 351 Modified, again, it's a tight squeeze, but it can fit. As a matter of fact, there's video footage of a guy right here on YouTube where he's crammed a 351 modified in his Maverick, and he's tough to beat. You're not going to catch him in a quarter mile unless you got, you could be running for whatever reason. That little Maverick just screams down the quarter mile. But more than just performance, the 351 modified in the 1970s was a quite a sought after engine in the 70s. And a lot of people forget this. As a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons why the Mercury Cougar in the 70s, in like 1975, they were selling like hotcakes, even more than the Mustang, even more than people would think, because that 351 modified was doing phenomenally great. It's kind of like the Oldsmobile 350. In the 1970s, that was still quite a sought after engine. Obviously, the Pontiac 350s, the Pontiac 400s, those tried and true big small blocks, if you will. I know that's a big oxymoron. Those tried and true big bore small blocks were just really sought after because people still, even though the gas crisis was in, there was still a lot of people that still wanted as much performance as they can get away with. They wanted those stout V8s. Because, as I have said before, the technology was really coming into its own. Carburetor technology really came into its own in the 70s. And if you knew what you were doing, you could do a few little things, and then the next thing you know, you had a monster that was still decent as far as V8 tech goes on gas. So either the 351 or the 350 modified, if I could get away with it, either one would be a nice choice for Project Spirit. But if I wanted something really retro, I would definitely do like a 289. I would love to get my hands on like a 1967 289, because that was right around the time that Ford was making changes to pretty much what the bolt pattern became for the Windsor class engines from there all the way up until it ended. And of course, to go along with that, that particular class also interchanged with the inline sixes. The bell housings bolted right up. So a 1967 289 would be an awesome choice. And say what you want about that little 289. The 289 was just a fantastic, fantastic engine, and I don't think it gets enough credit because it was during the 1964 to 72. You're talking the muscle car era, and it actually dying out. The 289 was just kind of it was a small engine, but it was the little engine that could. And a lot of people forget how great the 289 really was. It's kind of like Chevrolet's 283 and 327. A lot of people really forget how awesome those engines are, or even better yet, the Mopar's 340. A lot of people forget how awesome the 340 was. But anyhow, so I hope that answers your question. If I could have any choice of engine to put in a Project Spirit, what would it be? And that would actually be either the 351 Windsor, 351 modified, or the 289. And of course, we would have to really just have all sorts of fun with it. So any one of those. And before any of you have a chance to ask, why not a 302? Everybody does a 302. I like to do things, I like to have the conversation piece, something that's a little different. And with the type of hot rodding that I do, mostly being car shows, I don't have to go with what everybody goes with. I can kind of play around with that and have the conversation piece. So that's exactly what I like to do. When you have that interesting conversation piece, people automatically gravitate towards it and they enjoy it a little bit more. So that's just me, okay? You don't have to do it that way, but I like to do it that way. That's a good question, Bert. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Bert of Bert TV again. Big Bad Bert asked the question, would building an inline six be cheaper than building a V8? It depends. It depends. It depends on what you're going to do with them, okay? The inline six if you were to just, tear it apart, have new bearings put in it, and have the cranks, and just put it back together with just kind of a general rebuild, and say you're only honing out the cylinders, you're not boring anything out, you're just putting new cam bearings in and having new bearings put in, making sure the crankshaft is okay, and maybe having the surfaces redone, so everything matches up. Yeah, it would be cheaper than doing a V8 the same way. So just with a general rebuild, nothing special, nothing fancy. Yeah, it is possible to do it cheaper than a V8, because I don't know how it might be where some of you others might live. I mean, but I know down here, a lot of places, they'll charge X amount per cylinder. You know, so because of the two less cylinders and things like that, um, you can knock off some money, that sort of thing. I know when I do an engine rebuild, I like to have the engine magnafluxed, have every possible orifice cleaned out, from the machine shop, where they drop it down in a tank, then they magnaflux it, make sure there's no cracks, and have a full rebuild kit, from like Federal or something like that all together, and then basically have all the internals checked, have the crankshaft checked, make sure there's no wear that I need to be worried about, and if need be, do I need to replace the crankshaft or anything like that, and have the connecting rods checked, new wrist pins, and all that stuff. But when you compare it, kind of this, if kind of what I generally like to have done as far as the machining of an engine, um, with an inline six and with a V8, kind of across the board, yes. But when you start getting into, that's why I said it depends, because I mean, everything that I'm going to have done with Project Spirits Inline Six, it's going to start the price is going to start going up. So if you compare, the extra stuff that I'm going to have done to just ensure that that engine lasts forever, in a day, um, yeah, it could get more pricey than the V8s. So when you happy birthday, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, today I'm 39. Right now we're having a quick Q&A, and I'm kind of answering some mail questions. Some people who have asked me questions, whether they sent it through email or through, or they, talk to them in person or over the phone. So I'm answering a couple. I've got two more questions. I'm finishing up one right now. So here in a few moments, you'll be able to throw a question at me. Okay. So don't be afraid here in just a few short moments to throw a good question at me. We're talking about Project Spirit. We're talking about sobriety. Pretty much. If you think it's a good, if you think it's something that I should really. Right. I mean, I figured today's a good day to do it, because I'm actually going to also talk a little bit about engine science here in a moment. I'm going to blow your mind. But anyhow, but I mean, when you compare the prices of rebuilding a V8 as compared to an inline six, I mean, base wise, for just a general rebuild, uh, you'll save a few extra dollars on the inline six, just a few. But again, it wouldn't take long for the prices to start matching each other and to be able to go beyond with an inline six, because simply put, a guy like me is just gonna, you know, go nuts with it. It's just the way it is. All right, so that answers the questions from Bert TV. Now, uh, Third Gen 83 had a couple awesome questions for me, so I'm going to answer the easiest of them first. He was asking about the spindles for the front disc brake conversion, which we're almost ready to send off of those. You know how it is. Everybody's strapped for cash. The gas prices have jumped up. It's almost like the 1970s gas crisis all over again. So I'm very grateful that we have Project Spirit in the condition that she's in, and she runs as well as she does because she gets really good gas mileage. And so this is absolutely a fantastic time to have Project Spirit because it's like a 1970s gas crisis all over again. Mm. Okay. So if you find that interesting, he asked the questions about the spindles that we were looking at. Um, Basically, through some research, I was able to find out that the 1970 to 73 Mustang and Mercury Cougar spindles will interchange with the Mavericks and the Mercury Comets and the Ford Granadas and the Mercury Montenegros, and I even believe it or not, the Ford Fairmont to some degree. It will interchange. All you need is the five lug pattern, um, and that's where and you bolt everything on just as you normally would, except I think that you have to change the outer tie rods to Mustang outer tie rod ends, which is that's easier. That's easier than what we were looking at doing, which was trying to track down the actual Maverick Mercury Comet spindles, or for the Ford Granada, because most of these cars, if you do find them, they're going to have the front drum brakes, which we're trying to get away from. Not that I don't like them, I do like them. I've drove that car with front drums, and it's been just fine. It's not caused me any problems. Uh, it's just a bit of a challenge to stop. Okay, but you learn along the way. But anyhow, um, and I found this out because I contacted a guy. I called STL Mustangs in Park Hills, Missouri, which is just a couple of towns south of Bonne Terre. And I contacted them, told them what I was looking. I actually went in and talked to them and told them what I was looking for, and they honestly did not know. But they suggested that I contact Mustang Unlimited, and I talked to one of their tech guys who was just extremely knowledgeable about Mustangs and Mavericks and cars like that of the 1970s. And he explained to me that in the old days he used to just when he needed front spindles for a 70 Mustang, 70 to 73 Mustang, he would go directly over to a junkyard because where he lived up in North England, he would most of the Mavericks were off the road because they threw salt down and it just ate out the frames. So he was able to remove the spindles from those Mavericks, just rusted out four-door Mavericks that, they had front disc brakes. He would take those off and put those directly onto his Mustang, and he just had to use the Mustang. Well, not that he would have to use the Maverick outer tie rod ends. So I think when you go back the other way, you have to, basically retrofit. But they will interchange. And everything that I have already bought for Project Spirit will bolt directly on. I think the Mustang stuff is just slightly, different because you're pushing more performance at that time. So at a later date, if I wanted to, I could upgrade to the more heavier duty stopping power that they would have had with the Mustangs at that time for Project Spirit. But for right now, not a necessity. We're not going to be pushing a whole lot of ponies under the hood because she does more cruising than bruising. And not to say that I don't want to do that. I just want to put enough in there so if I want to, I can, but she's still going to be economical enough, So, so the Maverick stuff will bolt right up to that Mustang spindle, and the Mustang spindles will bolt right on, than maybe the outer tie rod ends. And by the way, third gen 83 also gave me a tip that even if I was to be able to get away with, which I still might be able to, if I'm able to get away with the Maverick front disc brake outer tie rod ends, it'll bolt that the ones for the drum brakes would work, but for some reason the way they're designed, the studs are a little bit longer, and it wouldn't quite be the same. Um, that I would be better off going with the front disc outer tie rod ends to make sure that I went ahead and spent that little extra, moment to do that. So he suggested that. All righty. So that was one of those awesome things that I didn't know myself. So I learned something else. Thank you, Third Gen 83, for that little tip. Now, Third Gen 83 also asked the question about Project Spirit, her the inline six. He's like, there's not, those inline sixes are a little clunky, so you're not dropping a whole lot of weight. And he's right. There's probably maybe at best about 100 to 150 pound difference between an inline six and a V8 fully assembled. The inline six just being about 100 to 150 pounds lighter, so it's not a big drop in weight. Um, and the V8s are easier to get performance out of. And I won't deny that. I won't deny that. Um, so getting the inline sixes are harder to get the performance out of, even though it is very nostalgic. So why not go to a V8 instead of rebuilding the old inline? Was his question, and that's a dang good question. Um, and I'm going to do my best to answer that question. Um, this is where we're going to get into a little bit of engine science. Now, first thing that needs to be said, for whatever reason or another, if a lot of people will contest to this, um, when you take the engines in the 1970s, I have noticed with a great deal of care, um, I have seen a lot of the engines of the 1970s last a very long time. We're not talking just, 10 years or even just 20 years. I've seen some of those engines last 30, and in the case of Project Spirit, all the way over 40 years. And this is at a time when 100,000 miles was a lot of miles on a vehicle. So, um, that being said, cars like, uh, that being said, if you will, the question remains, why did they last so long? Well, the first thing that needs to be said is they weren't pushing a lot of performance. So it stands to reason, and there's many other gearheads that will back this up, if you will. Um, the what a lot of people have, it seems that the less performance you put out, you know, um, the longer the engine will last, if you will. Um, um, Kind of like Project Spirits Inline Six puts out like 85 to 87 horses on paper, but it'll last a long time. It's lasted this long. So even though it's a low performance engine, it's lasting. So it stands to reason that lower compression means that it's just going to last. Um, by the way, the if you've all noticed, a lot of the V6s and V8s today, you're not getting a whole lot of time out of them. You're maybe at best getting 10 years. Um, but yet the numbers on the horsepower numbers keep jumping up. Maybe there's something to that. So in the 19, so that's one of the first things that needs to be noted is the lower compression engines seem to last a long time. Not to say that I wouldn't like a higher compression engine, which we can get that through the rebuild, but also to go along with that, the longest I have seen most V8s last, and we're talking just being really taken care of, and see them truly last. The longest I've seen them, that I've seen any. Now there may be others out there that have lasted longer than this, but 25 years. Now, 25 years is a long time. Um, Most cars today won't last past 10 years, most of them. Not to say that they can't, but most of them won't. Um, but if well taken care of, they can last a long time. Okay. Um, I know Project Lena is 15 years old now. She's 15 years old. She's lasted quite a long time, but she's got things that are starting to break on her more and more as time goes on. It's just the nature of cars and plastic. Um, that being said, if her V6 has been well maintained, we might get 25 years out of it. So you see where I'm going. Most V designs are going to last 25 years. The inline sixes, well, now that's a different story. I've seen people abuse those things, go onto a farm, and where I live, you can go to some farms in the area and go out there, and you'll still see an old farm truck from like the 1950s that has an inline six in it. It's never been rebuilt. They're still driving the crap out of it today, and it shows the fact that it's a farm truck, and it just keeps going and going. What gives? Okay. Now I'm going to give you, if there was any reason to build an inline six, is because you want your vehicle to last. Okay? And here it is. I'm going to blow your mind. Imagine for a second your V designs. They've got their pistons out like this and they go up and down like that. Regardless, and of course the inline six goes straight up and down. Relax. I know how that looked. But the pistons go straight up and down inside the cylinder. Okay? That being said, I'm going to say something that was pointed out to me by a guy who runs a machine shop out in Fredericktown. And he does Jasper Motors and all that. Matter of fact, I forget the name of the place, but they build racing engines. They build also, and he pointed this out, that the inline six has a couple of distinct advantages over the V design engines. And the first one is that they generate a lot of torque, and it's because regardless of how well built the engine is, gravity is still gravity. Okay? And in a V configuration, if you'll imagine for just a split second, the pistons are laid over at a 60 degree or a 90 degree, depending on the make, model, all that stuff. It's laid over at an angle. So those pistons are resting directly against the cylinder wall regardless. More friction and more wear and tear. So it will not last as long as an engine that has gravity on its side like an inline six, because the pistons go straight up and down. Gravity is working for it, meaning that that an inline six can, with a little bit of effort, generate a lot of bottom end torque, which if you're pulling something, that's fantastic. If you're pulling something, having that extra stump, that stump pulling torque, like in a farm truck, it's fantastic. It works out wonderful. If you're looking for that, if you're looking for that quick hole shot off the line, that's fantastic, especially in a quarter mile or even the eighth mile. If you're on a dirt track and you need to get your race car sideways into that dirt track style drift, inline six can do that. That's why they ruled the drag strip for so long. And this is also why they will stand the test of time. Take that in for a moment. Gravity is on its side. There's going to be less friction, less wear and tear. The piston action is working with gravity. Whereas in a V configuration, those pistons are laid right up against the wall, which I like my engines that just last and last and last. All you got to do is just take care of them, maintain what you've already done. You change parts, you fix this, you fix that, blah, 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 and it works. it'll stand the test of time. Which, ironically enough, that's exactly what Spirit's engine has done. Yes, she leaks like a sieve because there are certain spots um, where certain things don't quite match the way they should, so it leaks. The old joke about the inline sixes, well, all the engines of the 1970s, was you check the gas and you fill it up on oil because they were pretty fuel efficient back in the day. Um, Go back in time to when for some of you who've been around, who've got a couple of years even on me, even though I'm 39, that was maybe teenagers in the 1970s. And despite the fuel crisis and everything, gas prices were, you know, they fit the time frame, if you will. They fit the pay, generally speaking. So, say minimum wage was a couple dollars an hour, gas prices reflected that, if you will. Okay. So, that being said, the gas prices reflected that. Um, it still didn't take much that you would put a little bit of fuel in your vehicle and you would still go long distances. And those vehicles, if you took good care of them, they would last and last and last for like the end of time. I actually heard one story where a guy had a Ford pickup with a 306, and he was trying his best to blow up that 300 because he wanted the V8. And he took the truck out and drained all the oil, put put the plug back in, and he ran that thing as hard as he could. The engine stopped running, and he's like, did it, seized it up. Next day, he tells his dad, I was out in the field with the truck, kind of goofing off. The engine seized up. Dad said, really? He said, I think it leaked all of its oil out. So he goes out there, and he goes out to his dad goes out to the truck, puts oil in it, and let it sit for a few moments. He hit the key, and that 306 started again. So I guess, as a matter of fact, my buddy T-Bone actually says he's not a fan of Ford. He's a GM man through and through. But if there was one engine that he's a big fan of, it's the Ford inline sixes because they're just tough to beat. By the way, there is still a debate. Some of us old hot rodders argue who had the better inline six, Ford or American Motor Company. Well, I'm going to answer that argument right away. Ford used to make AMC's inline sixes, so you're right on both accounts. Ford made AMC's inline sixes. As a matter of fact, AMC was just an amalgamation of a lot of different car companies. Like certain things from certain car companies would actually interchange with AMC, and like I know at one point when they were getting ready to bring the Pacer out. I know when AMC was getting ready to bring the Pacer out, they were Pacer. AMC was actually looking at putting the Wankel rotary, the same style of rotary engine that everyone goes bonkers over in I think it's Mazda. How you doing, Bert? Um, so the Wankel rotary, because GM couldn't get it to work right, and at the last second they pulled the plug, said we're not going to build this engine. So the engineers at like 100 hours, they're supposed to start the production of this car, figured out how to cram an inline six in such a small space in the AMC Pacer. That's some amazing engineers. And that's kind of engineers you want working for your car company, but that's AMC is long gone, long gone. Um, for the record, when it comes to AMC, I would love to get my hands on a Javelin. Okay, so answered a few questions from Vert TV and answered a couple questions from Third Gen 83. I know Mr. Gear was on just a moment ago, and I was hoping he had a question for me. Mm. Okay, he could have threw him out, threw one out at any point. I know right now, Bert TV is on. Uh, we've been talking about my birthday, answering. Right, we actually just answered some of your questions. Um, so you have that now. Have we got any questions to go right along? I mean, I want to keep this happy and happy, lucky, and go free. Just that. Just want to keep everybody's spirits up. I mean, after all, it is my birthday, and it is 12 and a half years of continuous sobriety. Um, so let's go onward and upward. Any questions from anyone who might be watching right now? It's been fluctuating so much. I don't know if there's anybody else on other than just the two that I seen. Let's see. While I'm waiting for questions, um, Project Spirit. One of the things that we're also looking at doing sometime shortly after. I don't know, Bert. That's something you're going to have to ask the people who might have done that. Okay, I don't have any details on that. I don't know what's what. Um, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm the wrong person to ask. Okay. It's a cruel world out there sometimes. Um, let's see. So far today, oh, come on. We had someone on for just a brief second. I was ready to answer their questions or something like that. Real quick, I started to tell, we are looking at converting Project Spirit over into an automatic. Now, I know there's some purists out there. Oh, leave her a stick, leave her a stick. I would love to. Um, but there's a couple issues. Number one, I don't like internal linkage manual transmissions. Okay. Uh, I'm not a big fan of internal linkage transmissions, and the problem is that they don't last as long as the ones with the external linkage. So internal linkage transmissions are out. Um, and basically to get my fourth gear that I really, really, really want. The problem is that um, it will start getting pricey for like a top loader 4-speed manual. Uh, so it, to really get the to really capitalize on the work that we're doing to Project Spirits Inline Six, I really should have a 4-speed behind it. Well, the problem is that it can get kind of pricey. So the next option of all the things is to go to an automatic and have it built because I can actually do that over time. Okay. Whereas with a manual, you kind of need everything right then and there. Um, so with the automatic, I can kind of build things up over time, and if I wanted to at a later date go to a V8, that automatic would be able to hold up to it just fine. Because at some point, I mean, it's awesome to have those big, awesome numbers. Oh, I've got this 302 that cranks out 450 horses, and I drive it to work every day. It passes everything but a gas station. That doesn't make any sense to me. Uh, it's like that. So because of that, um, the automatic will be easier to get parts for when you're talking about an old style, an older car like that. And some of you might be saying, well, go to a 5-speed, go to a 6-speed. Why? I'm not a big fan of 5 and 6 speeds. Again, internal linkage. I don't like internal linkage. The gears are way too close together. The forks wear out too easy. They just don't hold up as well as an inline, well, the old external linkage manual transmissions. They just don't hold up. The one that used to be in Project Spirit lasted 42 years before we had to finally change it. So just take that into consideration for just a moment. That's a long time. Okay. So 42 years before we had to replace the original transmission. And yes, I know it sat for 20 years, but think about it like this. It is harder on a vehicle for it to sit than it is to drive it. And it's like that. I mean, vehicles wear out anyways. That's just the nature of vehicles. It's a man-made object. It's not meant to last forever. It's not going to live, thousands of years. We'd like them to, but it doesn't work that way. So because of this, it's up to people like, to try to find the setup that's going to make it last the longest and that you can continually get parts for. The C4 automatic is very easy to get parts for, and we can customize it however we want inside Project Spirit, and in a lot of the cases, we can do it over the course of time. That to me makes a whole lot more sense than just, going with a super expensive setup and everything. It's just easier to do it that way. And the other reason is now, even though Princess Faye can drive stick, and she has drove Project Spirit numerous times, because of the old spring-loaded clutch, she has a little difficulty pushing that clutch all the way down. And because she's not a big woman, Princess Faye is a tiny little thing. And I would like her to be able to drive Project Spirit a little bit more often. Say like one vehicle is getting a low on gas, or maybe it's in the shop. Project Lena has done a fantastic job backing up Project Spirit, but to go along with that, sometimes it would be nice if Project Spirit can back up Project Lena. So in that regard, Princess Faye can drive stick, but she would rather drive an automatic. And it just means that in order to get the gas mileage I was before, I'm going to have to actually put a little time and effort into it. So you can all understand that. The wife's got to have, the wife should be, I got to think about the wife too. Yes, she can drive stick, but doesn't mean that she likes to. Okay. And I think everybody can agree. Again, remember, the Prince Magnum channel is where hot rodding and romance do actually come together and exist. Real quick, a little bit of history behind that. I was telling somebody one day about my channel, who ended up becoming a subscriber, that my channel does hot rodding and romance. And they looked at me, they said, that doesn't go together. I said, well, yeah, it does. And just very quickly, I said, the hot rods to get their attention, the romance to keep them. And they're like, that actually makes a lot of sense. That makes an immense amount of sense. And it just kind of stuck. So I added it into my intro, welcome to the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. That's actually, I forget who it was who brought that up, but it was so cool. And so it was actually a subscriber who helped me with that part of the opening. Something to take in. Pretty cool, right? Real quick, while we're on the subject, bringing up Project Lena, I almost forgot a question that was asked by Third Gen 83. Third Gen 83 noticed Project Lena, and he's like, Prince Magnum, he's like, Project Lena, a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT. He said, it's a good-looking car, no question about it. Why is it a project? And I said, that's a good question. And so now I'm going to actually explain on the record, if you will, if I'm going to give you guys the same explanation why. Okay? Project Spirit, awesome car. We love her, okay? Everyone loves Project Spirit. Project Spirit is, in many ways, the car that most people would love to have, okay? But chances are you're probably not going to get lucky enough to find something like it. I mean, most people are not going to be fortunate enough or be situated enough or fortunate enough, however you want to say it at this point. They, they're not going to be able to find something like Project Spirit. Whether they want to fix it up into a dragster, whether they want to fix it up into, some sort of street machine, blah, 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 blah. They're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be that lucky to find a project car like Project Spirit. But it's kind of the car that we all like. That old style car that's lasted and lasted and lasted. But on the other hand, Project Lena is a car that is pretty much something that everybody has or can get. These cars are starting to, cars like Project Lena are starting to show up everywhere. In used car lots or pre-owned car lots. They're showing up in junkyards, scrap yards, and they're projects waiting to happen. Okay, so that means that Project Spirit is kind of the quintessential project that everybody would like to have. Project Lena is the project that everybody already has waiting for them. So Project Lena is that one that, I mean, it's ready to go. She's a clean slate, just like the old days. Like the guy who might buy that 1967 Camaro Z28 and maybe make a few minor upgrades. And the reason is so it's just like the old days. Yeah, the tech has changed a little bit, but the ideas are still the same. So Princess Faye has a good basis to build a good, solid show car because she's not really into the racing thing for the most part. So it's a good, solid show car for her to work with, because I mean it fits her personality. She likes that rounded body style. Um, she likes the sportiness of Project Link. And it's an automatic. It's got the peppy little V6 under the hood, front wheel drive. She likes all that stuff, so it fits her personality. She can customize the styling to fit her need. So it's the same thing that everybody has waiting on them, whether they know it or not. So because of that reason, um, Project Lena fits the criteria for a modern day project car. She's got a little bit of age on her. She's not under warranty. She's been well taken care of. Yes, she has things breaking on her. We actually got to replace some of the parts for her driver's side window because it doesn't roll up and down like it's supposed to. So because we're replacing things, but as we're doing some of those things, we're able to customize, upgrade, and make a few little minor changes here and there, whether it's cosmetic or minor performance enhancements, and get Project Lena to fit Princess Faye's personality. Pretty awesome, right? So something to keep in mind. Again, this is just something that we're doing, and if anybody wants to do a car project, it can give them some ideas. Obviously, the Prince Magnum channel is not, something set in stone. So, you know, uh, it's kind of like the do-it-yourself Burger King, do it your own way. We're just providing ideas. Um, so, with that being said, Project Lena is the car that anybody can have, today. If this was, 20 years ago, cars like Project Spirit might still be all over the place, And I know they were, For the record now, a lot of people are nabbing up 80s, a lot more of the 80s cars and early 90s, and they're doing a lot more work with them because the EPA has lifted that ban, that anything 82 and uh, and newer had to have smog equipment. Um, that ban has been lifted a couple of years ago, and because they lifted that ban, we're starting to see those cars go into project states very quickly, and trucks. Might as well just go ahead and throw that in trucks now. So these make great customizable projects now because of that ban being lifted. Um, but then again, it also depends on local laws too, because depending on where you live, it might still have to pass, emissions testing, blah, 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 blah. You all get the idea. I was hoping to have more live questions. So far, I'm just answering questions that have already been asked. Uh, Bert asked some, I love Big Bad Bert to pieces, but he's got this nasty habit of, I'm like, let's keep this light. And he starts throwing in weird, um, a lot of doom and gloom. I guess if I would have said, let's throw in some doom and gloom, he might have went the other way. He's kind of backwards like that. I love him to pieces, but we all got that one friend who's kind of, ass backwards. But anyhow, so that's where that stands. Again, I want to thank Third Gen 83 for throwing some really good questions at me, because he had some real doozies for me, and some of them him and I'd already answered for him. But I wanted to answer them for you guys too, because if one person is asking it, that means another one's going to be asking it. And of course, we all love Little Galaxy. Who doesn't love cats? I'm sorry. How can you not love cats? Um, Galaxy, she's been in a few of our videos, older videos when she was a wee little kitten. She did a little black ball of fur then. She's all grown up now, but to us, she'll always be one of our little kittens. All fussy. She wants to go off and do kitty cat stuff. And of course, Tavor's around here somewhere. He's my big, he's our big cat. I mean, he's just so much fun. So for those who do still love cats, the Prince Magnum channel still loves to show off cats. Real quick.
Here we go.
Will you stop? Real quick. For those who might be wondering about the mini movie, I had to push. We've had a slight delay with it. Imagine for a split second you're narrating and you realize everything that you just put in there was complete, absolute, utter crap. So I kind of had to move it back, and it's like I'm just not happy with it. And I want to stress, when I do a recorded video, when I edit a video, which I'm still very good at, even though I've taken a lot of time and done a lot more live streams, I want to say, that when I edit a video, I still want that video to be the best it can be. No, I'm good. Because of that, that need for it to want to be the best it has to be. Because of that, I don't want to just release a crappy video to you guys, or in this case, my first mini movie. I don't want it to be crap. Okay, so I won't do that to you guys, because I don't want you to sit there and be like, this is like nails on a chalkboard. Okay, trying to watch this. I want to support you, Prince Magnum, but it's horrible to watch. I don't want to do that to you guys. I want you to be able to enjoy it, to be able to watch it from beginning to end and feel like you gained something, more than just being entertained. I want you all to be educated at the same time, and I can't do that if I'm giving you guys crap. And I know what you all expect out of me from an edited video, so I can't release it like I wanted to. But I do need, since I'm on vacation, I do need to get over to the library and upload some brand new videos for you guys, because I've got a bunch of them. I've even got some that go back about 2-3 months. I'm backlogged just enough, and I've got some car shows to bring to you guys. And I've got some awesome video footage. The Azalea Festival car show, which is very, I've got some length on it, and of course I've got some video footage from the Bon Terre car show. I've been meaning to get that up there, and I'm just about done with the video footage from the Jackson car show. Um, so I will get on that stuff. But in the meantime, the mini movie has to be pushed back. I'm going to push it back about a month. We're going to shoot for September 7th. I checked the Patreon account this morning, and no one has donated, so I can't give anything away. We were ready. I was ready to announce today that the, that there was, that today was the deadline, for the giveaway, and nobody, just so I have nothing to give away. It's like
Wait, wait,
that.
wait. I have donated a kitty cat. There you go.
No, he doesn't go anywhere.
Well, he's not really going anywhere.
But regardless, you know, I still have stuff to give away, and no one has donated, so I don't know what to do there. It's kind of like that. So we might just reset that date. We'll, I guess everybody you know, I guess everybody just like me is strapped for cash. So it's just one of them things. Um, so that covers that, covers that, covers that. Real quick, again, I'm going to be at Lazarus Bar and Grill tonight to celebrate my birthday. Also, the Prince Magnum channel will be present at the Cadet, Missouri car cruise slash drive-in movie. It's a car show. It's a drive-in movie. It's a cruise. All that great stuff. Which is this Saturday. It just came across my desk, if you will. Uh, and the movie that they're showing at the drive-in, believe it or not, Smokey and the Bandit, one of my all-time favorites. I love that movie. I love that movie more than I do all the Star Trek movies and Star Wars movies combined. For those who know their history of 1977, when that movie came out, they'll understand exactly what I meant. If you don't know, in 1977, the one that ruled the box office was Star Wars. But the movie that almost beat Star Wars in 1977, believe it or not, Smokey and the Bandit. So to me, this is every gearhead's. This is kind of the 1970s was coming to a close. The gas crisis was finally starting to come to an end, and we were hoping at that point in time that we might start getting performance back under the hood, and it looked like we might be able to do that. And so hot rodding was back in, and the movie that kind of spurred the nation back into enjoying hot rods once again, custom cars, whatever the case may be, however you want to look at it, was Smokey and the Bandit. So for every gearhead, that is a very important movie. And of course, all the proceeds is going to suicide awareness. So of course,
Suicide awareness and prevention.
okay, yeah, suicide awareness and prevention.
Okay.
And because of that, the Prince Magnum channel does want to be present to support that. So come to Cadet, Missouri, please, and donate what you can. There's going to be vendors. It's going to be a big, big shebang. Please be there if you can, because I know that that's a that's a dark subject that we need to spend more time trying to do what we can to help those who are on that edge. Um, because of my alcoholism, I know where these people are coming from, and because of my post-traumatic stress disorder, I know where these people are coming from. So, because of that, I want to obviously help people as much as I can, and I hope Princess Faye feels the same way. So, I know at this point in time, Project Spirit and Project Lena will be present. If things change between now and then, um, it'll just be Project Spirit. But one way or the other, the Prince Magnum channel will be present at the Cadet, Missouri car show, drive-in movie, and possibly the car cruise that day, okay, to support the cause of suicide prevention and awareness. So that covers that. I don't know about Lazarus Bar and Grill this Friday. Kind of depends. I'll probably be getting ready for that car show. But regardless, we're going to be there. So but we're going to be out there tonight, so it's still going to work out. So that brings us to the close of this birthday edition. I was hoping to get more questions, but regardless, we were still able to get something out there. Some questions that had been asked, regardless. So, so that covers that. Again, I want to thank Big Bad Bert of Bert TV for the questions that he had. And I want to thank Virgin 83 for asking the questions that he did for the Prince Magnum channel. And I'd already answered them for him, but I knew if he asked those questions that there would be other questions that would be yet to come. That basically that you guys would be asking the same questions eventually. So because of that, I thought I'd better go ahead and answer those for everybody. Why not? You know. All right. So that brings us to a good stopping point. Again, the mini movie, we pushed it back a little bit because I don't want to just release crap. I want to make sure that I'm going to push it back at least a month. Give me just a little bit longer on it. We'll shoot for September 7th. It just did not work out the way that I wanted it to, and I don't want to release my first mini movie and it being very bad. Okay. So, all right. As usual, all right. Hit the like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And remember, when you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified every time the Prince Magnum channel either goes live or uploads a brand new video. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon account. Donate if you can. If you can't, hey, I understand. And we're eventually going to come up with, I need to get on there and kind of make some adjustments. But we're going to come up with anyone who wants to become a monthly subscriber to my Patreon account and just claim that they're going to donate so much a month or whatever. We're going to come up with a club called the High Mileage Club, not the High Mile, high mileage, referring to the fact the Project Spirit's engine has went so long without having to be rebuilt. So it's kind of along those lines. And of course, if you're a subscriber, you're a member of the Maverick Nation. Let's see. So check me out on Patreon. Check me out on my Twitter account, which I need to get on there and check some stuff out. I haven't been on there in like a week. Be sure to follow me on Facebook. I usually try to remember to upload brand new stuff to go along with that. And also, as usual, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something. Idle hands and a creative mind make horrible bedfellows. And I need to go into more detail on that. But you all get the idea for the moment. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them. If you've got a project, that means you're putting a lot of time in that project. You need to pay attention to the other half, okay? Oh, we do have someone poking in real quick. All right, real quick. Got any good questions for me real quick? Because I was just getting ready to shut it down. Gosh dang cigar. Because I answered all the ones that have already come across my desk, and no one else really asked. Well, we had one person ask a question. Talk about a project. Well, we just talked. I just talked a lot about some of the upcoming changes. I know, brother. We just talked about some of the changes with. Oh, hang on. Let me look at that a little bit. Oh, that is so sweet, an Afghan. I'm not crafty like that, but let me tell you, I love when couples get together and they do little crafts for each other. As a matter of fact, to help Princess Faye, because she has picked up kind of a second job sort of thing. She's working on and I can tell you why, but I'll holler at you later on, sometime tomorrow, and explain what's happening to you, brother. Um, Someone had a question that talking crafts. They're making their sweetheart an Afghan.
What was the question?
They just wanted me to talk a little bit about projects, and I just remembered before I was getting ready to shut it down that.
Go ahead, keep talking. I just want to read the message.
But one of the things that
Hit
no,
live chat. Thank you.
one of the things that um, wow, now everybody's coming on. Isn't that something? I was just getting ready to shut it. One of the things that Princess Faye and I talk about regularly is working on the cars together with each other. And since she's kind of picked up like a second job, she's working with a friend. I won't give the details of it, but she's working with a friend. Hi, Kimber. She's not on, but you two are working together. Um, because of that, I'm going to be doing some of the work to Project Lena myself, and kind of saving her as much time as basically I'm. So we do stuff like that together, and it's not uncommon that Princess Faye will make me something really cool, or she'll do some really neat artwork to Project Spirit for me. We work on cars together a lot, and there's kind of this meme that's going around on Facebook that I've seen regularly pop up on my well, on mine. I'm not mad, brother. I just laughed it off. That's just life. But one of the things that we I forgot where I was going. That comes up on my Facebook page every now and again is couples that work on projects together, stay together. Um, and something else that needs to be said about that: couples uh, that do little things like that for each other oftentimes stay together. Um, for example,
Provided one is not yelling and cussing the entire time.
mm-hmm. Hey, if you're working on a car and you're not cussing at it, you're not working on it. you know, uh, that's just one of them things. So that's just what is so that's amazing that you're working on an Afghan for your sweetheart. I'm not that crafty. Um, I've always felt better under the hood of a car, turning wrenches and coming up with goofy ideas.
If you would, person that's making the Afghan, send in progress pictures to the email that I'm sure he's going to put now in the description. I'd like to see your progress. I love arts and crafts and all that sort of stuff. So please feel free to send in pictures, progress and finished if you want. But you don't have to. So like whatever you
And
want.
real quick, since Princess Faye herself wants to see that, my email account is princemagnum1@gmail.com. Wow, 61 squares. That is awesome. That is awesome. That's a big one. And I I don't know a whole lot about about that sort of crafting and stuff, but I know it takes a lot of time.
It does.
So
My
that
my grandmother, my mom's mom made an Afghan that was like couch huge, and it was it took her like a few years to get it done. So props to you on staying with it on
um,
that. That's a hard thing to stay focused on.
um, and which that reminds me when it doesn't matter if it's a car project, Afghan, painting, whatever. I know sometimes when we're working on things and at certain moments it doesn't seem like like the project is going our way. The one thing that I will suggest in that is don't give up. I know on a car project, if things aren't going my way on a certain spot, a lot of times I'll move to a different spot. And while I'm working on it, a lot of times I'll end up thinking the solution for the spot that I was having troubles with while I'm working on that different spot. So, believe it or not, if that helps you any, I don't know if that will or not, but if at some point you could start getting frustrated with your project, no matter what it is, just move to a different spot, or do something a little bit different that still needs to be done to that project, and spend some time on that. Maybe that, if you ever get discouraged, maybe that might help you stay focused on your project. Um, and and real quick, when I say, and now I'm going to have to say it, when I say idle hands and a creative mind don't make good bedfellows, and I briefly have mentioned it. It's like you're living a pipe dream. There's a lot of young people that when I go to a car show or I'm just out in the general public with Project Spirit, they'll come up and say, "Man, I wish I had a car like that." And it's like, well, go find one. Or what's wrong with the car you got to turn it into a project? Oh, it's a piece of crap. Fix it up. Well, I don't know how. Here's my YouTube channel. Here's some people that I recommend that work on vehicles, and check these people out. And there it is. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you. um, you know, and they'll say things like, and so it's like, there you go, and you could, and I will watch for about a week, and I won't see them subscribe. Well, you run into them later on. Never mind, that an extra subscriber to me gets me closer to that 1,000 marker. That doesn't matter to me. I mean, they want a project car, so it's like when you tell them how to get to that point, they won't do it. When you ask what they're doing, they're off playing video games. They're living a pipe dream. They wish in one hand, and it's like that whole old saying: wish in one hand, crap in the other. See which one's going to get fuller quicker. Well, stop wishing, okay, and stop crapping in your hand, okay. Do something productive with those hands, okay. You've got the creative mind. You know what you would like to have. The only thing that you got to do is go out and make it happen. And that's a big problem with a lot of people today, is they just sit there on their butts, wishing in one hand and crapping in the other, okay. So props to you for doing a project, okay. Stay with it. Do not give up on a project. Stay with it. Stay with it till the end. The only bad thing about having a car project, though, is it's never completed. It's like it's sort of completed, but you're always doing something to it. So in a way, I mean, that's why Project Spirit will always be known as Project Spirit, because she's a project for life. That's just how it is. Hi, Galaxy. I've just seen them. So, if you will, just kind of take that to heart. A lot of young people out there, and I'm so grateful that you have not followed in suit with a lot of people. I don't know your age, but I'm going to assume that whoever might be watching this, a lot of young people, do that whole thing, wish in one hand and crap in the other, and the crap in their hand is getting fuller because they're living that pipe dream. They're not getting off their butt. They're too busy playing with their cell phones, too busy playing video games. You know, go out there and make your dreams come true. That's the way life is. You go out and you make it happen, okay? If there's anything that I have, any great wisdom that I have, is you go out and you make life happen, okay? It doesn't, don't wait for opportunity to come knocking. Go knock on opportunity's door yourself. And if it doesn't answer, kick it in. That's just how it is. All right. That was one heck of an awesome, man, that got me going again. All right. Again, because now it's about time for me to head over to Laz's Bar and Grill and do some karaoke. I might try out some new songs tonight. Tuesday nights are not usually super, super populated, so I might get a lot of time on stage, I'm hoping. So if you're in the area, come out and see us. Who knows what I might be singing tonight? Who knows?
Songs.
Yeah. Anyhow, as I started to say, get out there and work on a project. Don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. Again, idle hands and a creative mind do not make good bedfellows, okay? That explains why so many young people suffer from depression. And if you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet, do something special for them today. And as always, if no one out there has told you that they love you, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.